What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So many of us really enjoy our aromatic Fougere barbershop type of fragrances. And it's kind of funny that when you talk about Fougere fragrances, it's really subjective because you could have an aromatic fragrance, aromatic spicy, aromatic woody, that doesn't necessarily fall into the Fougere category. Well, technically speaking, it might lack some of the ingredients that really qualifies it to be a Fougere fragrance. So that's why I've chosen to call this list today an aromatic Fougere barbershop type of list, because I feel like that's going to cover all of the bases, and it's definitely going to fit these fragrances here that I want to share with you. I started out wanting to do a top five favorites list, and when I really got into it, I realized how difficult that was going to be, simply because I love all of the fragrances in my collection that fall under these categories, and I reach for them for different reasons. So it was kind of hard for me to pick a favorite, and it was definitely hard to narrow it down to just five. So what I've ended up with is 8, and they're not categorized as to which are my favorites, like, you know, going from 8 down to numero uno, because yeah, I couldn't do that. Instead, I've categorized them according to the year they were released. So I'm going to start with the 70s and work my way up. So starting in the 70s, and of course that was the decade that I was born, so I was just a wee tot when these two that I'm going to show you came out. In fact, this one came out in 1975. This is Bogart, and it is Bogart Pour Homme, but they do have another Bogart Pour Homme out there. So this one is just typically referred to as Bogart or Bogart Signature. So yeah, this one came out in 1975, so I was, about 2 years old then. Definitely was not wearing this yet. I didn't discover this one until many years later. But this one starts very clean, very fresh, in fact, just a little soapy. It puts me in mind of a little bit of tree sap, but sweet. Tree sap from like a pine tree, if you will. But you catch a lot of leather, a bit of rosemary, some nutmeg that gives it kind of an oriental feel. This is a fragrance that really has to be tried out. If you're trying it for the first time, try it on paper, but also make sure you try it on skin too, because it works so much better on the skin, with the body's chemistry. And Bogart fragrances are just widely known for their performance. I mean, you can put this on in the morning and guaranteed you're going to smell it all day long. Also, another great thing about Bogart fragrances is that you can get them super cheap. And I look forward to trying a lot more from this line. Currently, I only have one other, and that's the Silver Scent Pure, which I really like. It's a good summer scent. But yeah, looking forward to trying some more from Jacques Bogart. So now we're going to jump ahead a few years, 1978. This is a widely known aromatic Fougere, much loved in the fragrance community, and it is Azzaro Pour Homme. This opens very similar to the way that Bogart does, in the fact that it is very fresh, clean, airy, but it kind of verges off into a different direction, because with this one you just get a lot of heavy lavender, and it also has a very anisic quality too. Now, it doesn't quite have the same licorice feel to it that normally comes from anise. In fact, it's pretty hard to describe with this one, and I think that's what makes it so interesting. It's very hard to put your finger on exactly what you're smelling. You can kind of pick out the various elements, but when they come all together, it provides just this type of feel that is very hard to put into words. But I've always loved the marketing for Azzaro Pour Homme. The tagline was, "For men who love women who love men." And of course, you couldn't get away probably with, you know, a tagline or marketing like that nowadays, because everybody gets so up in arms about anything that's too gender specific. But I think it does a good job at describing, really categorizing this one, because it is truly a very masculine scent. And it's for a man that, you know, wants to be noticed by women. It just doesn't beat around the bush too much when it comes to getting that point across. So Azzaro Pour Homme from 1978. Now we are going to completely bypass the 80s, which I hate to do because that's actually my favorite all-time decade, because that's really the decade that I grew up in, and just remembering the music and the fashion and everything from the 80s. And there were a couple that I could have put on this list, like Calvin Klein Eternity from 1989, but I decided not to for reasons that I'll kind of go into a little bit later. So we're going to head right into the 90s with this one, and it's Pasha de Cartier. This one comes from 1992, and the opening of Pasha is just wow. It's so great. The lavender, the oak moss, the mint, just the combination of those ingredients. You have some patchouli there, sandalwood, rosewood in the heart and base of this fragrance. And Cartier just does an amazing job with very refined masculine scents. And this one just doesn't disappoint when it comes to those elements. Now, I'm a huge fan of Mathilde Loren, who is really the in-house perfumer for Cartier. And it's quite surprising that she really didn't have a hand in this. In fact, she wasn't involved with a lot of the flankers, only the Parfum version of Pasha. But this OG, this was created by Jacques Cavalier, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful scent. If you haven't tried this, you really, really need to. Again, just you can't get any better than the opening of this. So Pasha de Cartier from 1992. So moving on, the year now is 1993, and this is a fragrance that is very much loved, has been very well received in the fragrance community, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that it comes from Chanel, but it is the Platinum Egoiste. And out of all of these that I'm talking about today, I think it took me the longest to learn to love this particular one. And I think it had a lot to do with the fact that this one is very well known for having that metallic type vibe to it. So where on the one hand, it's very traditional, it's very refined, very dressy. Then it adds that metallic kind of note to it, and it gives it this modern twist. And at first, you don't know what to make of it, really. At least I didn't. In fact, I know this is going to sound strange, but to me, it kind of came off like a bloody metallic. You know how sometimes when you bite your lip and you get that blood taste in your mouth, and because taste is so closely related to your sense of smell, you almost get that sensation like come up in your nose. So that's kind of what it was like for me. And at first it really put me off. I didn't know what to make of it. So I did continue to give it a chance. I wore it a few more times, and it was then that I was really able to appreciate some of the other elements about this fragrance that makes it so great. The wonderful lavender, geranium, petitgrain, and then the herbs like the rosemary and sage. So where Pasha is more brilliant in the opening, that's where you're going to find the magic in that one. It's the drawdown for Platinum Egoiste. That is where you're really going to appreciate this particular fragrance. So Platinum Egoiste from 1993 by Chanel. So from 2003 comes this one from Ted Lapidus. It's most of the time referred to as TL Pour Homme. Again from 2003. This is a very unique aromatic fragrance. A lot of people would probably argue that it could never be considered a Fougere because it doesn't contain a lot of the elements that a fougere would. Like it doesn't have oak moss in this at all, but it does have lavender. But it's just very unique. And what I find is that it puts me in the mindset of a fougere or barbershop type fragrance, and that's why I choose to have it on this list. But it's unique in the fact that it adds elements like vanilla and mint. This has an amazing opening on it, guys. And so because of the vanilla and mint, it kind of takes it from being a more light, airy, clean type of fragrance to more of a sweet, powdery type. So probably out of this list, this one and the one that I'm going to talk about next are probably the only two that could go slightly unisex. So, you know, if a female found that she was attracted to these type of fragrances, the aromatic fougères, this is one that definitely, you know, she could probably rock and get away with nicely. So yeah, Ted Lapidus or TL Pour Homme from 2003. So yeah, another one that would go slightly more unisex, I feel. And this comes from 2019, and this is Calvin Klein Eternity, the Eau de Parfum version. And this is exactly why, as I mentioned earlier, I don't have the original Eternity, because I feel like when it comes to Eternity and its flankers, as well loved as the original was, I mean, I wore that in the early 90s and just totally adored it. And I still do. But when I smelled this one, and it was like the bar had been raised for Eternity. This blend here and what they have done with this just provides so much oomph and so much depth to the original DNA that I had to put this on the list. And I do slightly enjoy wearing this one a lot more than the OG. It just has a more refined sensuality to it, I feel. Now it still has the trademark lavender in it. It has the sage, but it's got apple. Apple has been added to it, cypress, suede, and there's no citrus in this version too. So while there would naturally be some similarities between the two, the original and the Eau de Parfum, there's enough of a difference there too to make this one quite unique. It kind of sets it apart to be able to stand all on its own. I've heard some really, really awful things said about this version, and I tend to feel very offended, and I really take it to heart because I love this one so much, and I just don't understand how everyone else would not love this. But, you know, I've heard it described, you know, different ways that just is like, I don't know what these individuals are smelling, because I enjoy this version so much. But Calvin Klein Eternity, the Eau de Parfum edition that came out in 2019. Moving on into the 20 teens. This one comes from 2018, and it's such an amazing indie release. It's from the House of Rogue Perfumery, and it's Mousse Illuminee. I really regret that I didn't pay closer attention to this when I first tried the house out. I got the Discovery set, and while it did turn out that this was in my top two along with Fougere L'Aube, I ended up going with the Fougere L'Aube as my first bottle purchase, and it wasn't until recently when I introduced a friend of mine to the brand, and he was kind of going through and sampling it, and that I took the time to go back through them and realize that, yeah, this is my favorite here. This has a way of really transporting you to a different time and place. It's very green, it's very mossy, very foresty, very tranquil and calming. And I wore this, in fact, over the weekend, and was just again amazed at the performance, the scent trail that this leaves. It's such a great scent. And I really feel like I think Rogue has kind of gained a following, but I definitely think they need more attention, kind of thrown on them because Manuel Cross, I mean, he's just done an amazing job with these compositions, especially this one. It's immediately come to be. I mean, it's, again, don't really have favorites here, but it is at the forefront. I mean, it's right there, as being one of my favorites if I were to choose to have one. So Rogue Perfumery Mousse Illuminee from 2018. So this is the most recent release on this list. It is from 2020 and it's from Authenticity LLC and it's called Barbershop. Guys, if you are looking for a classic, very masculine barbershop fragrance with a slight twist to it, this would be the one for you. This house originates out of the Tidewater, Virginia area, which is close to my heart because I used to live there, and that is where my wife and her family are from. And so I was naturally very curious in trying the brand just to see what was coming out of that area. And I wasn't disappointed, especially with this one. I tried 4 from the house, and they've recently released another that I haven't got my nose on yet. But liked all of them, but definitely this was my favorite because I just feel like that this is a very, very unique Fougere. I really haven't smelled anything else like this. And what I really love about it is the fact that, like we were talking about with the Mousse Illuminee, how it can kind of transport you to different place, different time. When I smell this, to me it smells very Italian. And I'm very attracted to the Italian culture. So to me, this kind of puts me in the mind of being in the Italian countryside, walking into this beautiful villa, into the kitchen and being assaulted with just very strong herbs like basil especially. And there being like a pasta sauce, a sweet pasta sauce that's on the stove. It's been simmering for a few hours. And then this nice breeze that just blows through the kitchen across this well-laid farmhouse table that is just waiting for, family to arrive and to gather together around. I don't know why, that is what it reminds me of, and it's such a nice, comforting feeling. And again, it puts me in that type of frame of mind. So I really, really enjoy wearing this. It is a beautiful scent, and I look forward to purchasing more from the house and trying them out a little bit more too. So yeah, this was tough. It was tough to narrow down my list to just 8 fragrances, but I can truly say these are the best of the best when it comes to my personal collection. And what I really like is the fact that there's a wide range of variety here with these too. I mean, you've got some very, very classic scents going all the way back to the 70s, but you also have some more modern day Fougeres, some that have gone in. They've got kind of a very unique twist to them. So there's something here for everybody, and I hope this has kind of inspired you to maybe go out and discover some of these for yourself. As always, I really appreciate you stopping by and checking the video out, and if you could, please leave me some comments down below. Let me know what you think about this list, about some of the individual fragrances that are mentioned. And until the next time, I hope that you guys please stay safe out there and take care.